Livecast, welcome to the livecast, livecast, welcome to the show. Livecast, welcome to the livecast, welcome to the show.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the livecast. If you haven't been watching for the last few weeks and you're wondering where we are, we're in my house. We're not in Eastbourne. Sadly, we're not out in the garden. The weather is absolutely gorgeous outside, but it's really, really windy, and so the microphone was just peaking the whole time. And so it would have been great to sit outside and enjoy the weather, but we wouldn't have been able to get good sound, and we couldn't even sort that out in post-production. So apologies about that. So we've kind of decamped to my dining room. And hopefully let us know if you're watching. There's a few people watching already. Let us know if you can hear all right, because we've been faffing with the microphones a bit as well. So it'd be good to know if you're checking in. Hello to a few people who are watching. I can see my wife, hello, and I can see Andy from the office, which is great, and a few others joining us as well. If you haven't been watching for the last few weeks, Glenn is away and we're doing a series of interviews. You may have heard last week our interview with Faye Summers, where we chatted about kind of growing up in an abusive family, and that's an amazing story. You can still check it out. It's on Facebook. It's probably easiest to find it on Speak Life's YouTube page, where you've got the kind of fully nicely edited version with good sound, because we had issues with the internet dropping. But this week we've changed the computer. We're indoors. Hopefully it's all going to be fine. So as I said, we've been doing some interviews. So I'd like to introduce you then to Mr. Sam Wilkes. Hello, Sam.
Greetings, Paul. Greetings, Internet.
Hello, world. Yeah. Sam, really good to have you with me today. Most people watching, there'll be some people who you know and we know who have tuned in because they're interested to see you. Tell us a bit, who are you, Sam?
Well, I'm Sam. I'm 19 and I'm a student at Bath University doing acting, which is very, very intense, but very fun.
Yep. And so that acting, is that the name of it? Because I was going to ask you, I know you're at Bath. What is that the name of your degree? Just acting? Because I know there's like physical theatre and
yeah, it's just acting.
Acting.
It's basically like drama school training, but at university.
Cool. Okay. And so have you got particular ideas of what you want to do with that afterwards? What's the dream?
The dream is to be an actor, but I mean there's
and you're doing acting, yeah.
There's quite a few people who got to the end of the third year and went, nah.
It's not. Okay, fair enough. Sam and I, we've known each other now for it's probably 8 years, is it? So Sam,
the breadth of your time.
Sam had the dubious honour of being in my youth group for so it would have been, I think, 7 of my 8 years, wasn't it? I think that you were in my youth group. Obviously anything Sam says that is good and sound, I'd like to take full responsibility for.
All game from Paul.
Yeah. Anything heretical, definitely he's picked up somewhere else afterwards, and it's nothing to do with me. So yeah, and you and I actually left at the same time, didn't we?
Yeah.
So when you were just finishing, I was finishing, because I mean, once you were gone, I was like, what's the point of going on?
I gotta go on!
I didn't like the rest of them, so... Sam, so, so we've always had quite a good relationship. We've got similar, say, taste in music and things. I think you're probably a bit more prog than I am, aren't you?
I'm very prog.
Very prog. And so we kind of had a bit of a bonding, didn't we, in the youth group, as we...
Doctor Who.
And Doctor Who, yes, yeah. So Doctor Who and our disdain for popular music today united us pretty much, didn't it? I think so. We're here to chat a little bit today about how you came to faith, and also kind of what it was like being a Christian at school and now at university and things like that. So you are a Christian,
yes,
which is a good start. I mean, I hope so. Which is a good start. Have you always been a Christian? Tell us a bit about that.
I would certainly have always said that I was a Christian. Kind of I grew up in a Christian family. The first 15 years of my life, I would, if anybody had asked me, "Are you a Christian?" I would have said yes, and I would have said yes. This is a really major thing in my life. But it wasn't something I thought about a lot. It was more something I accepted. You know, I didn't necessarily have a full understanding of what it was, but you know, I went to church every week and all of that. So it was there.
Yeah.
But not necessarily as big as it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, we were talking yesterday, saying, you know, it's, you know, when you say to someone like, "Oh, tell us about how you became a Christian," and people start off with, "Well, I was raised in a Christian family," and
it's like the basic, yeah.
But I think we need those testimonies, because so often you hear people say like, "Oh, I haven't really got a story to tell," because you know, they think, "Oh, I wasn't, you know, I haven't got this amazing story about kind of being pulled out the gutter and you know my life being turned around." It's this gradual thing, being born in Christianity. But actually, I think it's really important, because so many people's story is like that. It is the story of raising a Christian family and the gradual drip kind of feeding.
Yeah.
So when we were chatting about this, you said even though you weren't really a Christian, you were sort of a nominal Christian up until the age of 15. Talk about some of I was surprised to find there were still some challenges you felt you faced as a Christian, in inverted commas, in that period.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about what you felt as a Christian in that kind of time.
Well, certainly kind of later on. So kind of when I started secondary school, I was about 11 or 12. And of course, like, there were moral challenges before then, but this is kind of the one that stuck out for me. Kind of 11 and 12, I went through the whole, like, teenage boy thing of kind of, you know, discovering things like pornography, and lust was like a big thing that I felt really guilty about, because I would have called myself a Christian, and I was very aware that this wasn't a very Christian way to behave or to feel. But you know, in my head, every time I did it, I was like a little bit more condemned.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I was like, I can't just apologize to God every time and just think that like that's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like a really deep feeling of guilt.
And maybe like, was there a kind of sense of, you know, you'd have a good week and it would feel good, and then there's the bad week, and actually it's like
doing so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really helpful, actually, because I think, as I was thinking about it, it would be easy to think, wouldn't it, if you're a kind of nominal Christian, you would, I think by default, maybe I assume, the nominal Christian isn't bothered about their sin because they're just quite nominal. But actually, your story is the opposite, in the sense that you were more burdened by your sin because of your nominal kind of Christianity, you know. And you know, we're talking about you at school, but that could be the case for so many people out there who are in church maybe, but they're nominal, and all they do is feel guilty because they've not experienced kind of grace or anything like that. It's not kind of,
and certainly, like, growing up in that Christian family, you're still brought up with kind of that kind of moral compass, like, you know what's right, you know what's wrong. So there's guilt coming from there as well. Yeah,
absolutely. I meant to say at the beginning, and I forgot to say, that of course, if there are, if people want to ask questions as we go, it's one of those things where there's only, because obviously when it's Glenn, the two of us, both of us can keep an eye on what's going on that. So I'm trying to juggle everything. So we might save questions for the end. I might try and have a look and see what's going on partway through. But do ask questions if you'd like to as we go. So you've got this kind of nominal Christianity, actually, where you're kind of burdened by this guilt. What was it that kind of changed then for you?
So I think I was 15 when I went to this. How do you describe Curtains Up? It's kind of
Curtains Up. It's a Scripture Union holiday.
Yeah,
it's a Scripture Union camp, isn't it? And it's performing arts.
Performing arts. So it's performing arts camp. It's not really a camp, but
in a boarding school. So it's kind of halfway house camping.
Yeah. So the first year I went, I was 15. So it was 2014, and that was really the first time that I'd had that experience of worshipping God with people other than the All Saints church family. You this was a new group of people, and they were all much closer to my age. And, I'd just never experienced God working in this way before. People were, they were falling to their knees and like getting really emotional and crying. And part of me was like, I have no idea why this is happening. And another part of me was like, this is so much more exciting. And it was that first...
We don't do exciting in All Saints, not in Anglican circles. You're not allowed to show emotion. That's an offence. That's a church discipline.
Yeah. But it was that first moment of there is so much more to discover about God, and he felt the whole thing felt a lot less distant.
Right. Okay.
So it felt like there was a definite shift at that point.
And kind of chatting to you in a sense that there was never really. I mean, that was a kind of catalyst, to use the word we talked about yesterday. Sam always has an excellent use of language. That is one of Sam's defining characteristics as well. This was a kind of catalyst, but there wasn't really a particular moment like bang, all the lights go on. Yeah. Overnight conversion, so to speak. And so, how would you describe your conversion? Talk us through when you got baptised. You had a particular analogy which everyone enjoyed very much so.
So a couple of years ago, I got baptised, which was obviously fantastic experience. And we'd done you ran a session in 24/7 about like testimonies.
Possibly so. 24/7 was our youth group.
Yes. I remembered a session about testimonies, and the general opinion that the thought that had stuck in my mind was that it's good to have an analogy in your testimony. So I came up with this analogy that I started my testimony with, my baptism, and it was that if you put a frog in boiling water, it will immediately jump out, but if you put the frog in just normal water and then heat it up, it will slowly boil to death. And then there was this short silence, and I basically said, and that's effectively how God's come into my life. But just genuinely, like, knowing myself, I know that if I'd got to the age of 15 and someone had come to me with this concept of God for the first time, I would totally dismiss it. Yeah. So actually growing up in a Christian family and just the kind of the foundations of it being laid actually was very important.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I think, again, going back to the thing about people saying, when they say their testimony isn't exciting enough or whatever, the whole raised in the Christian family, I think we just forget when we are Christians and we raised in a Christian family and we're so used to Christians being around us, we forget that it is a real privilege to be raised in a Christian family. Like, it's not like, oh, that's the boring end of the story. Like, I wish I had something better to say than that. Yeah, exactly. It is a privilege. So, no, I think it's a great thing. And we all love the frog analogy, being God slowly boiled me to death.
It was the shock when I said the initial analogy, and then when I went on to explain the whole kind of old frog dying and like there's a new frog, I just sensed this relief in the room.
Well, I think we were all wondering before, how hot had they made that water in the baptism pool? It's just going to be pretty awkward. But you died, went down to death, boiled to death, rose to new life, so it was all good. And how did that then, thinking about that, you're talking about the guilt before.
Yes.
How did that affect the guilt, kind of in terms of that?
Well, I have to say, immediately it didn't.
Yes.
That's there. And it's not something that necessarily goes away, but there was, it was very gradual. I started to realise, I don't have to feel guilty about this because all this has been paid for. But we did speak a bit yesterday, didn't we, about the kind of pendulum. Yeah. Where you go from just feeling really guilty about everything to go, I don't have to feel guilty about it, so I can sin all I want and not feel good about it because it's been paid for, right?
Yeah. So the Roman 6 stuff,
And then you kind of go, but Yeah. And so it's difficult to find that kind of
There is
mindset.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always hesitant of using words like balance and middle ground because I'm not always sure they're the right words. But with that idea of, you know, suddenly you've been so filled with guilt and you swing all the way to the other side of just like, wow, there's no guilt at all, but the danger is you hit a point where you're just like, well, my sin doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And in one sense, that is that's true. Not that it doesn't matter; it's that it's all being paid for.
Yes, but
but sin is still bad. So it's not just carry on doing what you like, and then the danger is you have that moment over there where you go, oh no, this isn't right, and you go whoosh, all the way back to guilt, and you know, and I think of you know, Martin Luther's kind of, you know, simultaneously justified. So righteous and a sinner, you know, and that is the thing, isn't it? Is remembering that it's not our behaviour. You don't want to fall back into that trap of good week, bad week.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff, isn't it? So
yeah.
Okay, so you've become a Christian, or it's kind of been a gradual process, which is great. What kind of new challenges did that bring for you at school? Kind of you moving from just a kind of nominal Christianity to kind of a real, authentic faith, I suppose.
Yeah. So the secondary school I went to was Benham Memorial in Tunbridge Wells, which is a Christian school. But not everybody there was a Christian, and I hadn't thought that was a massive issue for most of the time I was there. But then, of course, once, you know, it was all a lot more real for me. You know, I started to realise that it was a very worldly place in the way that people were behaving, and
so maybe previously you'd seen it as quite a Christian environment.
Yeah.
Because I guess there's a lot of Christian input in a C of E kind of school.
Yes.
It's the background noise of a school, I suppose.
It is.
And there's a kind of a lot of nominal things.
Yeah.
Nominal faith. Yeah. Okay. So then, it didn't change. Yeah, change your heart on that.
Yeah. But the thing that really annoyed me, kind of progressively more so as I went through, was when we had assembly, we'd have assembly. I think every morning. Can't really remember. We'd have assembly.
It's only going to get worse, Sam, as the years go on. You won't be able to remember everything.
We had assembly, and they were just so dull, so boring. You know, there was no joy of God in it.
And so the assemblies, I mean, they were with a Christian. That was a Christian influence kind of moment, but they were not very exciting.
Yeah, it was Christian content, but so dull. And there was a point when people started to realise that they had a choice about whether they could sing the worship songs we were singing or not.
Or what kind of songs would they have sung in school?
I mean, they were like legit in Crest Alone. I remember singing
legit. Stuart Townend, legit.
I remember singing Father God I Wonder.
Oh yeah, I've got a great story about that song. Just to segue out for a second.
Right.
So at New Wine one time, the worship leader was at the front and he said, I just feel a song rising up here. And someone in the congregation just started going, Father God, and he went, no, it's not that one. Anyway, back to you, Sam.
Yeah, but there was a point where I was the only one who would sing. And after about a verse...
Out of how many people are there singing or not singing?
I'm trying to think how many there were. Because the assemblies would either be our half of the school.
Okay, so
we're talking would be
a big number.
A big number.
We're like triple figures.
A lot of people, because even the people there who were Christians, they didn't want to.
Didn't really want to.
Whereas at school, I was all about like standing out from the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we did class assemblies, I would always volunteer to write a poem. I'd go up in front of the whole school and read a poem that I'd written.
Yeah.
But
and so you'd be singing, other people would be singing. Did that ever bring any? Did people ever comment on that at all, or is it just
occasionally?
It's just awkward.
People would kind of look at me and laugh. Yeah, at which point your singing starts to get a little bit quieter. But
and didn't you pray? You did a prayer once in front of the school and said Amen.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I can't remember this. It was like a service or something. It was like a Eucharist.
Yeah. And
they got me to read out this prayer, and I read the prayer. I thought quite well. And then at the end, I said amen to total silence. And it was probably the head of year or someone was coming up to do the next bit. And I just kind of went, let's try that again. Amen. And then, do you know, it was like people kind of woke up. They were like, oh, okay, we're engaged. You know.
Yeah, but so not so actually, despite all that Christian input, it was very stale.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, there's people here who are at that point where they're making that choice and they're going, well, I'm either going to stick with this Christianity or I'm not. Or some people didn't believe, and it's like you're still representing Christianity to these people as being dull and boring.
Yeah,
and it's like the opposite.
Well, that's the one thing it shouldn't be, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if when you've got the Word of God to work with, the one thing you shouldn't ever be is boring. That's like the thing that you.
So what does that tell people? They're like, I don't want to be part of this.
No, it just confirms kind of stereotype, I suppose, doesn't it? And tell me, I'm always interested to know about RE lessons and what RE was like. I mean, obviously you're in a Christian school, but non-Christian schools as well do RE. So
yeah. Well, so this wasn't a massive issue for me at the time because we took our RE GCSE a year early, so I took it in year 10 when I was still nominal. Not a proper Christian. But they are very. I think we said yesterday, Christless.
Yeah.
It's all about kind of the ethics of it. We did philosophy and ethics, and it's all about what Christians think about this issue or what Christians think about that issue. Of course, everyone else there had this feeling of, they're forcing their beliefs upon us, by making us right. But and particularly now, I can see actually that wasn't it at all.
Yeah.
Because they're all side issues, and it's not as black and white as that.
Yeah. So there was never, even in a kind of Church of England school. Following the RE, I suppose it's GCSE RE curriculum, isn't it? There is no real role for Jesus in there.
Yeah.
And I experienced that. When I think back to my RE, I feel the same. But going into other secondary schools, which are not Christian schools, when I was doing youth work, and 9 times out of 10, the RE, it was always kind of obey the 10 Commandments and be good and that stuff, and it was never anything with Christ at the centre. You've become a Christian, and so you stand out from the crowd because you realise that people, actually it's not a particularly Christian environment. And then when you finished, you did your GCSEs and then you actually moved to a different school for college, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
So talk a bit about how that environment was different to the school environment and kind of what were the different kind of challenges and opportunities that came up then?
Well, so I went to college at Sussex Downs in Lewes, and it was only really when I got there that it hit me. This was the first place of education I'd been in that wasn't like founded on those Christian values.
So you had a Christian primary school
primary school, Christian secondary school, and then I went to college and there was no Christian union or anything, so I didn't know another Christian there. And it was that sense of like I still felt that was the right place for me to be at that time. But I had this real sense of, oh, God's gone and He's put me in the world,
Yeah.
And now it's just me having to stand firm to this.
Yeah.
And kind of the first year at college was kind of me working out how to do that.
What it looks like on the front line.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Okay, and what were some of those challenges? Because now you're in an environment which, is even less Christian perhaps than the nominal Christianity there was at secondary school. What were kind of the things? What were the challenges you faced there?
There was sexuality was a really big thing, like homosexuality and all that. I would tell people, I'm Christian, and the first thing would be like, oh, well, you must hate me because I'm gay, and it's like, what? But there were moments when I was a little bit harsh. I just kind of put it out there and might have lost a couple of friends
Yeah.
You know, in the process. So yeah, that first year was very much me trying to work out, because there was another situation where a good friend of mine on my course said to me, "So do you think I'm going to hell?" That's like a great open door to, you know, for an opinion.
It's quite a loaded question as well, isn't it?
It's a loaded question, and I just turned to her and said, "Yes."
Well, you're honest. You know, you're
Which was, I feel like that might not have encouraged her or anyone that was in that
How did she
conversation.
respond? How did she respond when you said that?
I think it was kind of nervous laughter.
But I mean, interestingly, when we talked about it, that we were saying what were the biggest challenges, and so sexuality came up as a big one, that people just assume you must hate gay people.
Yeah.
And then hell was the other one, which I don't know if we'd assume that's the obvious one that is going to be a challenge for people, but we talked a bit, you know, how, if you can answer that question now, if someone said to you, "Do you think I'm going to hell?" What I mean, because there might be people in school now or at university, and the people are asking them questions like this, or maybe even in the office. Who knows?
Yeah.
What do you say? What do you think is a better way to respond to that now with our evangelistic hats on?
Like, not how I did.
Step one.
Yeah.
Don't say yes or no.
Yeah.
As a starter.
Well, we said like asking a question back, starting sort of treading lightly, you know, but then also talking about, I think, what their definition of what hell means to them, what heaven and hell is to them, what heaven and hell is to me, and then that's a way in, and then, you know, Jesus.
Yeah, always good if you can get around to Jesus. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, I think that's right though, and I mean the asking a question back is just really biblical, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
There's a great book which is worth people picking up if they can get it. I think called Questioning Evangelism, which is not questioning the concept of evangelism, but it's just it's about using questions in response. I think it's by a guy called Randy Newman. But not the "you've got a friend in me," Randy Newman. But I think you're right that the most helpful way to respond to that is to kind of just probe a bit and ask questions back. Do you think you should go to hell, and who do you think should go to hell? And I think you'll get into those conversations about. You'll probably push down the line if there were good people and there were bad people. That's what you're going to find their thoughts, I guess.
Yeah. And
then you've got a great opportunity. And I think you said you'd had those conversations where you'd explain to people, it's not about like they're the good people here and the bad people here. And you kind of explained the good news, and people's response was like awestruck was the word you used. I think. Yeah.
I mean, you certainly get that sense of them going, "Oh, you know," it's like that they don't get it, but they get it.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
It challenges their conception, I suppose, of what they think you were going to say.
Exactly.
And like, I think we need to hear that. I think it's an encouragement to hear that people hear that and actually kind of go like, "Oh, okay, wow." Because I think we have this assumption that people will react badly to the gospel.
Well, yeah.
And they will. Some will.
Of course, because, you know, it says all through the Bible, doesn't it, that, you know, we always face opposition.
Yeah, and to those who are perishing, you know.
But it's important that people know that is not always the case. And sometimes people do find it encouraging. And I found that when I say that I'm going to pray for people, you know, they always seem really touched by that. So it's not like the world has a total aversion to, you know, what we have to say.
No. And I think as well, the other benefit of the generation that's growing up now, and it's probably my generation below, I'm not sure, is that it was also new to them. There is not that nominal Christian background that like my grandparents had of growing up in a Christian society. So they've never even heard these ideas. So it is completely fresh. And I think that's a bonus. That's a pro in terms of our evangelism in the future. But we shouldn't be that surprised that when we share the good news, some people actually think it's good news, you know. And just tell us one more thing. I think about there's the expectation. The other thing that you found hard was there an expectation on Christians to be perfect. Yeah. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. There was one discussion in particular. There was this guy on my course who didn't stay long, but he told quite a rude joke, but it was a funny joke. I found it funny, so I laughed, which is fair enough. And he totally turned on me, and he was going, "Oh, you call yourself a Christian, but you laugh at jokes like that." It was this. I was just there like, you're the one who told the joke.
And it was just out of the blue.
Yeah, and it was this. I don't know. It was just this total double standard. It's like people expect Christians in a way to be Jesus.
Yeah, and
it's like, well, no, actually, a Christian is just someone who knows that they're not perfect.
Yeah,
but goes, I think I need to do something about that, or someone needs to do something about that.
Yeah, and it's good for us to be held to a high standards. We should hold ourselves to a high standard, of course. But of course, there are some people who are almost just looking for that reason to tear you down. But they probably don't hold. He probably didn't hold himself to that same standard either. He certainly, I imagine, he didn't think he needed to act that way. And we talked yesterday about the kind of bizarre thing that people expect you to be perfect as a Christian, whether it's school or anywhere. They expect you to be perfect, but also hate-filled.
Hate-filled.
Of course you must be hate-filled because you must hate gay people.
Yeah. Well, it was like, I joined a band recently and as the drummer, and almost every week there would be just someone who made some comment about some joke about the whole God hates gays thing. And it's just like that. It's becoming people's like central idea of, and it's totally misled.
Yeah, I guess for some people it's the only contact they have with Christianity in some ways is through that conversation in the media or whatever and stuff. So, okay, so it is, obviously it's tough being a Christian in school. And now you're kind of at uni now, you're at Bath.
Yeah.
So at university, obviously there's still challenges and things like that. So talk about, are they similar kind of challenges, or are the challenges a bit different at university?
Well, in a way uni is a little bit easier because there is the CU, the Christian Union, and there's a church there, and I'm meeting up for one-to-one. So there's a lot more Christian contact than there was for me at college, which did make college quite difficult for me. I think and people seem quite open at uni. And kind of open to what I have to say. And
was that surprising to you that people were open?
Yes. It's always surprising for me, because you always meet people who won't even, you can't mention it to them. So it's really nice to have people who are genuinely interested and genuinely asking questions. There are challenges, mainly in the form of, the kind of whole lust thing doesn't really go away. It's sort of innate human desire, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't go out an awful lot, but I often kind of go for pre-drinks.
Yeah.
Someone's flat, which it's great to socialise with people.
Got to be in the world.
Yeah.
Got to be in the world a bit at least.
Yeah. Recently started casually drinking.
Because I know for a long time you didn't drink.
Yeah, that was my thing. The thing is, I famously didn't drink.
Yeah.
And I met up again with my musical theatre group at a party the other week, and I poured some cider out of my bag, and there was just this stunned. They were like, "What happened to the labelled bottle of water?" You're the responsible one. It's like, yeah, but yeah. So, but of course, like pre-drinks, there's a lot of attractive girls, and you do find yourself thinking certain things which are
and the alcohol thing is so. I mean, I know from when I was at university, and I doubt much has changed. The alcohol thing was so huge.
Yeah.
We were saying how people would, I'd say to people, "Oh, did you have a good night last night?" And they said,
"No, I wasn't
really.
drunk enough."
Exactly, and it was like, "No, I didn't. I wasn't drunk enough."
Yeah.
And that was the bizarre thing, that people saw a good night as being, you had to be very, very drunk. It says, "Have a good time last night?" Yeah. What happened? Don't know. Can't remember. And I think that's,
Yeah.
But I think there are challenges for Christians in that, aren't there? I think we talked together about, you often you can find yourself the kind of designated like looker after.
Yeah.
Almost, you know.
Yeah. Or the one that people ask, what happened last night?
Yeah.
I can't remember the situation, but yeah, there was this one time that I saw a girl the next morning after she'd been like really drunk the previous night, and I was like, "Did you have a good night?" in a kind of concerned way, and she just thought for a really long time, and then she was like, "I think I made out with so and so," and I was just kind of like, "Yeah, you did."
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of thing where they're like, "Did I do that?" And I'm like,
yeah. And it's difficult, isn't it? I think in the midst, you know, I would say having, you know, been at university as well, like there was this kind of, you know, I would say, right, I will have, you know, this many drinks, and then it'll be on to the cokes or whatever it is. But in the heat of the moment, that can be really hard to like stop. When you get caught up and someone says, oh, you know, going to the bar, whatever, and I mean, I've even been in situations where, I mean, it wasn't when I was at university, it was between a year at university where I worked for a hotel,
right.
and I'd stopped drinking at that point. When I went to the hotel, like staff do, the guys, when they said, do you want a drink? And I said, oh yeah, I'll have a Coke or whatever, and they brought me back a beer. And you know,
if you're handed a drink.
Yeah, and that's very difficult to know what to do in that situation.
Because like peer pressure is a massive thing at any point, and it's something that I've always been quite against. But when you are with a group of people that you know you love being around, you know. Yeah,
and I think people you don't want to kind of miss out in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, we talked as well about it's quite difficult clubbing. It's quite difficult to go clubbing.
Yeah.
You know. Until 4 a.m. when you're sober, like it is a very, you know, you hit a point where you're like, I'm pretty much ready to go home now.
I've been at clubs for like a long time after I wanted to leave before. It's like everyone's dancing and I'm just kind of standing there, just like, why am I not in bed? You know. Yeah,
and I certainly felt as a Christian, there were those moments where you think I've got to watch so and so, like where is this person? This person went to the toilet 45 minutes ago and hasn't come back. And
it's like I always try and stop people from, you know, doing whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like there's this voice in my back of my head that's going, Sam, they don't care. They don't have what you have.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh no, make it sound like a disease.
And it is contagious.
They don't have Christianity.
You can catch Christianity. It's totally viral. Once you've got it, it's in the system.
But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and I think that is tough, isn't it? I think any Christian at university will face the temptations of alcohol, particularly. Talk a bit about, I mean, you said it in some senses easier because you've got things like Christian Union and we talk about like church search and stuff.
Oh yes.
There'll be some people who haven't been to university, or maybe things have just changed over the years. Tell us a bit about what Christian Union at a university does and what it kind of looks like, how it's helpful.
Yeah, well, it's really helpful in that it gives you that kind of weekly kind of gathering you can go to, sort of gathering of Christians, and you know we'll worship together, and we get speakers to come in, you know, so it's like a mini informal church or whatever, you know. And there'll be events, you know, we've got a great relationship with this pub and bar, brew house, you know, and we did a barbecue and we did a quiz night, you know, so it's a really great time to bond with other Christians as well, and form that group, because it is important to have that point, you know, particularly certainly when I'm struggling with other aspects of uni life.
Yeah.
Having that group of people that I can come back to, that we can, you know, spend time with God.
Yeah. It's difficult to keep going just by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I once heard someone say, I mean, they were talking about, it wasn't specifically, you know, just spending time with Christians, they were talking about church, but they said, you know, a Christian without a church is like a tree without water. It can stand, but not for long.
Yeah.
And I think that applies just in terms of having, I mean, what is church anyway? Having those Christian, you know, 2 or 3 gathered, whatever it is. You need to be around other Christians. Don't give up meeting together, as Hebrews says, to encourage each other and whatnot. So I think that is such an important factor of Christian unions. And just tell us a bit about, I mean, you touched on it slightly, the evangelistic side of the Christian Union, kind of, you've had like events weeks, what do they kind of look like?
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll tend to, events weeks, there'll be meals and things at different places, and we get a speaker in. So I think the events week, they had the same speaker all week, which gave it, like, for anyone that was coming back, it was like coming back to a series.
Yeah, and continuity, I suppose.
Continuity. I don't know, I might be wrong. But, because I could only go to a couple of those events, but there was one event that I invited a good friend of mine who's Muslim to, and she came and she brought a friend and she loved it and said the talk, she really enjoyed the talk, she found it really interesting, and she would come again, which is really encouraging. That's another really encouraging moment of kind of seeing actually really positive contact that non-Christians are having with
the gospel, I suppose.
Yeah, with the gospel.
Yeah, and I guess, like you said, like you were saying, there is an openness when people have come away from home, maybe for the first time, and there is this kind of, I'm free to be me now. Everyone's finding themselves, because everybody's lost. Everybody's lost spiritually, emotionally, physically. They can't find their way around the buildings, around the site. Everyone's lost.
That's very much what college felt like when I got there. It was like there was this freedom, and everyone was, it was just individual central.
And I think the thing I remember being surprised about at university was that people are open. People would, if you invited, come along. I mean, particularly Christian unions were very good at offering free food as well, which I think for students
that is the main
is a real winner.
It's like fruit.
Bait that hook and throw it out there, But people were really open, I think, at university, because there's that point where they are thinking, all the stuff. Just like, as a Christian, you might leave home, and there's maybe that point of how much of my faith is just an inherited thing from my parents, and there's a point where maybe it becomes real. For a lot of people, there's also that moment when they leave home for the first time, and they start to think, well, now I don't have to be quite like my mum and dad, and
who am I?
Yeah, who am I? Who am I?
I'm a picker. I'm a grinner.
So, I think there are those opportunities, aren't there? So, and I know UCCF are the kind of Christian Union guys, aren't they? Who do an amazing work and support all you through that stuff.
Yeah, really fantastic.
Let's just think briefly then. I mean, there may be people out there who are in school or at university, they're Christians, and maybe they do feel maybe like they're the only person, or they're facing the challenges or stuff that we'll be talking about. What kind of things would you say to them about, if they're in that situation and they're saying, what do I do? I need help. What would you say? I
mean, first port of call, CU, most universities have a CU, or like a really good Christian union. It's really important to get stuck in with that as soon as possible. They'll often run church searches. So this last time I became the co-president of the CU at Bath Bar, and so kind of planning for Freshers Week and stuff. And the one thing that in my mind was like we have to do was we have to have the church searches. It's like we'll meet and then we'll get on the bus and we'll have certain people taking people to whatever church.
Yeah.
And we do that for like 4 weeks, and it just gives people the opportunity to see different churches and just kind of work out where they belong in that place, which is really good as soon as possible to find that kind of Christian place of belonging. Yeah, and like we were saying before, you need to be meeting with other Christians. So particularly if there's people at university who haven't got a church yet, go and find one. Christian Union can help you, but also for the person maybe in sixth form now who's going off to university in September time. Actually UCCF are very good, because I think most universities you can contact the Christian Union. I think even before you go, there's a way to get in touch and just say, hello, I'm coming and I'm staying in this hall or whatever. Yeah. And they kind of make a note and they say, right, we'll come and find you and we'll take and contact you about this event. So if you're going to university, I really recommend doing that and getting stuck in.
And talk a little bit about. So maybe that's more uni based. If you're at school,
Yeah.
well, I mean, to the person who's in school, maybe there might not be a Christian union in school.
Yeah.
But what would you say to them? Maybe kind of things they should do. It's going to be helpful for them.
Well, it's so. When I was at school, obviously, I had a church back home to keep going back to. So
Yeah.
I'd say in any situation, it is important to have a church and to belong to a church. Certainly that would be the main thing. And even just so, I do mean like specifically Christian schools or.
No, in any school, if you're whatever school you're in, it could be a secular school.
And just praying.
Yeah.
Reading the Bible. That's buzzwords.
Praying, read the Bible. Tick. Go to
Yeah.
church. Yeah. But it's so true, isn't it? I mean, it's that whole read your Bible, pray every day. The song, isn't it? But I mean, there's so much wisdom in it as well. And so another thing I think you do at university, which I think is helpful to just mention as well for the person who maybe needs help. Tell us a bit about one-to-ones. What is a one-to-one?
So I, this past year, academic year, I've been meeting weekly with I think one of the mission partners at our church, though no longer. But and it's so helpful because we can work at our own pace. If there's something that we kind of skip over and I want to know more about, I can go like I don't quite understand what it's saying here, and I can apply it much more to my specific situation, and in a way we can learn from each other through the discussion of it. I found it a lot more valuable than some big CU sessions or services or youth sessions or whatever.
Yeah, there's I guess
personal.
And I think that is the difference, isn't it? If you were to say, if someone say, I go to Bible study already in a group and stuff, why do I need to do a one-to-one? Well, you don't have to do a one-to-one, but the benefit, I think, like you say, is that more personal element, and it is a relationship, isn't it? Based on, it's not just two randomers. Often, there should be it might start a bit like that, but the idea is you develop some relationship, and there is an opportunity to go a bit deeper. And there's normally it tends to be an older, wiser Christian, doesn't it, with a slightly younger Christian, although I guess the older you get, the trickier that might become. But it's like you say, it is that iron sharpening iron type thing, and I think asking difficult questions, being accountable.
It's also interesting coming from two different backgrounds, because obviously I grew up in a Christian family, and the guy I meet with didn't. He'd sort of discovered it later down the line. So it's like two different ways that we've come, two different paths that we've come down.
So you've both got things add. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if you both had Christian backgrounds, I'm sure you'd have different perspectives on things.
Different experiences.
Yeah. But again, just shows the value of meeting with other Christians to keep us going, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We've kind of almost reached the end of what we were talking about. We've actually got a question.
Oh.
So we've got a question here. So a question here from Christopher Dempsey.
Right.
It says, with the challenges that young people face in today's society, would Sam agree that an increasing number of young people are seeking stability through a Christian life?
Wow. In what sense? Like seeking stability?
With the challenges young people face in today's society, would Sam agree that an increasing number of young people are seeking stability through a Christian life?
So as in people becoming Christians to provide a kind of stable foundation to help with the challenges of...
Well, I guess maybe the question is, I think young people do have more pressures on them today probably than even in my day. I think
the pressure's always been there, but more now.
I think they're ramped up now through the school system seems to be even more hot on
damn society.
examining
It's so much.
Seems to be hot on examining people all the time, and people's there's this kind of sense in which young people's value, even more so than it was before, it seems to be derived from their examination results. Mental health issues seem to have grown. Social media seems to just take over the world. We were away this weekend on this camping weekends with our church. The thing I really loved is that I barely looked at my phone.
Yeah.
And I think actually for young people that's quite hard, to not.
I'm not going to deny that.
No, yeah. So I suppose the question is, are young people? I mean, Christopher Dempsey's question is, do we think more people are seeking stability through Christianity? I don't know. I don't know what the odds, the statistics say that whether.
Yeah. I don't know enough about.
No,
Yeah.
I think. I mean, like we said, there are pros in society. The fact that society is becoming more secular and a lot of young people don't have a Christian background, there are pros on that front. That the gospel is fresh.
Yeah.
I think there's also, it's a double-edged sword. It's terrible that young people are feeling so, facing so many struggles through the school systems and through mental health. But in a sense, there's such an opportunity for the gospel to speak into that and say, you know what? Yeah, no, your value isn't based on, what grade you get in this or how you perform in the school. Your value is, you are made in the image of God. You have someone who died for you because they love you. And that is we've got an opportunity to tell a different story to the world.
Yeah.
So I think there are opportunities. Whether people are turning in their masses on that, I'm not sure at the moment.
Yeah.
But I like to think that as society becomes more secular, in a sense, the gospel is going to be more impactful.
Yeah.
In a sense, I'd like to think that's the way it will go.
Yeah. Can only hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
And pray.
Hope and pray. Yeah, definitely. Any other bits coming in? Any other questions? I think we pretty much got to it. Sam, thank you for speaking to us all today about your experiences. We will, who knows? Maybe we'll hear more from you in the future. But it's been great for people to hear about challenges of being a Christian in school and at university. So, if you know people who are in school, at university, and you think it'd be helpful for them to hear this stuff, do share this with them. It will be on YouTube and stuff later, and stuff like that. So, Sam, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, thanks. We're pretty much at the end now. Thank you for watching. Do give the page on Facebook a like if you haven't already, and do get subscribed on YouTube, that kind of stuff. That's all really helpful for us. We've had Faye, we've had Sam. Next week I'm going to be speaking to Ian Barnard, or known as Barney. Barney is a graphic designer. He does a lot of kind of calligraphy work as well, but he's done a lot of work with big companies, so stuff with Google and Adobe. I know he's done some stuff for Speedo as well. I've asked him not to wear his Speedos next week. But he's going to be in next week chatting a bit about how he became a Christian, and also how he sees his faith, or how he tries to be a witness in his work through the work he does in graphic design. So that should be great. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed today, and do join us next week. Thanks very much.